Buddhaṃ pujami, Dhammāṃ pujami, Sanghaṃ pujami.
So today we already taken the precept, so we don't have to take anymore. So we can start. Tonight, I think I do not want to do the guided meditation yet, because this afternoon we just had instructions on the vipassana, and then if we do a guided meditation on other things, it will be a bit confusing for some people. So tomorrow we'll start off with a guided meditation from about 8:15, about this time. And then we do for about 15 minutes or so. Then only we'll start off with the Dhamma talk. Okay. So for those who are sitting quite at the back, make sure that you are able to see me, not get blocked by somebody else. At least I know what you are doing. Sleeping ka? What na? Okay. Now, in this afternoon, I talk about the walking, I talk about the sitting, I talk about things that a yogi should do and should not do. When you are here as a yogi, what are the things that you need to carry out, and what are things that you are not supposed to do, like talking, communicating, reading. Then you should follow like the schedule: 1 hour walk, 1 hour sit, 1 hour walk, 1 hour sit. Or especially for those who are the beginners, you may find it difficult to sit the hour. And as I said, you can try at least like half an hour. Really painful, cannot take it, get up and walk for 5 minutes. Then carry on again to sit until the hour is up. Day after day, you train yourself until you can able to sit the whole 1 hour. Now if you start it with this way, you don't force yourself. We don't force ourselves to sit as long as we want, or up to the hour, or we see our neighbor is sitting so long, then we also want to achieve that. So as a beginner, you don't do this way yet. This is not on your level yet. So you try to do as best as you can. Really cannot get up and walk for a while, then continue to sit. But for walking meditation, make sure that you do properly. If you have to finish the hour, even if you are a beginner, you try to finish that hour, and it's important for you to finish the hour. Because if you start off with a proper walking meditation for the next few days, you will see that the sitting meditation becomes more clearer. When it becomes more clearer, after 5 days or so, you'll see that the improvement in the sitting meditation will come in, the improvement in the walking meditation will come in, and then therefore the progress of vipassana will start trickling in. So be patient. Be patient. Be gentle, be natural. Now, tonight I would like to talk something on mindfulness, on sati. Although this is a topic, it is one of the core topic of vipassana meditation. You want to do a vipassana meditation, you cannot run away from this topic of mindfulness. The Pali word is sati. Usually we use the word sati. But what we are doing here, as a yogi, first of all, the mindfulness thing, we have to learn to differentiate between what is mindfulness and what is right mindfulness. What is sati and what is sammasati. Two different things. Same component, but two different things. Two differently applied. The reason I want to talk about this topic for tonight, because sometimes this topic will get very confused. Meditate, jip chut, mesti mong cha cha go. Sometimes you don't even know what is mindfulness. Not only don't even know what is mindfulness, then you practice the wrong kind of mindfulness, or you practice concentration and you end up with over-concentration. Then you end up with a lot of headache. Or you put in a lot of effort, but mindfulness bo ki lai. Mindfulness didn't come. If the mindfulness didn't come again, also you end up with a lot of tension. So it's important that we know exactly where to bring out that mindfulness. And not overstress our mind, not overstress the concentration, not overstress the effort. To bring out that mindfulness and to keep it consistent. So, what is right mindfulness and what is mindfulness? Right mindfulness falls under the Noble Eightfold Path. Okay? If it's mindfulness only, not necessarily it will fall under the Noble Eightfold Path. It's not necessary it will fall under the Noble Eightfold Path. So there's two different things here. Same component applied differently. They are two different ways of development of sati. What is the purpose of the Noble Eightfold Path? What is the purpose of the fourth noble truth? You know your first noble truth, isn't it? Happiness. And what? A suffering. Dukkha. What's the second one? The cause of suffering. The cause of dukkha. Yeah? What is the third one? It's the cessation of dukkha. What's the fourth one? The path towards the cessation of dukkha. Yeah? Now, understanding the Four Noble Truths, then you see the fourth noble truth, the Noble Eightfold Path, is for the purpose for the third noble truth. Then for what? Kai happy. For the worldly purpose? For a worldly purpose. The Buddha specifically for fourth noble truth. The fourth noble truth is for the cessation of dukkha. Is for finally you end this cycle of birth and rebirth. It's finally to end this cycle of birth and rebirth, finally to eradicate the defilements, to realize the nibbana. This is the aim of the fourth noble truth. That means the Noble Eightfold Path here. And one of the components of the Noble Eightfold Path is this right mindfulness. The right mindfulness, to be achieved this right mindfulness for the purpose of, then what? To stop this cycle of birth and rebirth. Okay, to stop this cycle of birth and rebirth. The purpose of a development of a right mindfulness is to stop that cycle of birth and rebirth. So the way of vipassana, the way of development here is towards that particular path. This is the teachings of the Buddha. All right? This is the teachings of the Buddha. On the sati, not samasati, but just sati, only on mindfulness. The way of mindfulness develop, okay? The way of mindfulness develop is that you can develop from many parts, many ways to develop this sati. For example, even if you practice samatha meditation also, even you do metta meditation also, you're going to have some degree of sati coming in. If without sati, you cannot do even the metta meditation. All right? You're going to have a lot of sati also during metta meditation if you develop it correctly. What else? Nowadays, right now very popular, You go to the overseas, the mindfulness thing is a very popular thing. Tam Kim Long Kui, sometimes in the newspaper you open up, mindfulness this, mindfulness that, mindfulness this. Mindfulness for what purpose? For what purpose? For the happiness of here and now. In other words, for well-being. In other words, for overcoming your stress. For give you some degree of calmness so that you can able to cope with everyday life. If you have some degree of, let's say, pain, for example. If you have nowadays they have like a post-op pain, post-operation. After that you have a lot of pain. And then nowadays they have mindfulness management onto the pain. So you reduce on the morphine, you reduce on the painkillers. Then they nowadays they bring this mindfulness into the school. And if we bring it to the school, they let the children meditate and to get some degree of mindfulness. Then you can see that the result of the children becomes better. Less problem in the school. Better results in the school. In many ways, right now in the worldly ways, they bring mindfulness into the world right now. And it gives happiness to the world. And it gives happiness to a lot of people who practice it. But those mindfulness are not sammasati. Although it's sati, but it's not sammasati. The purpose for them is not to get out of this cycle of birth and rebirth. Do they? Yeah? They're not wishing to get out of cycle of birth and rebirth. They're for the happiness here and now. For their well-being. For whatever problems, whatever challenges that they are facing through, that they want to overcome it. So they develop this mindfulness for this purpose. And now this one is very popular right now. So popular until it begins to cover the teachings of the Buddha. And here, if the devotees, yogis, doesn't understand this too, then you will think that kalau siang ema, yang masih ka mindfulness, na actually masih ka mindfulness, men like retreat hiping masih kalau. You don't have to come for a retreat, you don't have to come to meditate there. Over there also they advertise mindfulness, they do mindfulness. Here also they do mindfulness. And what for want to come here? 1 hour walk, 1 hour sit. Might as well go there, sit down, do the whole thing, the same thing. Because they are all mindfulness, right? So because lacking of understanding, lacking of this whole this understanding of where your mindfulness is going to bring you, and what are the worldly mindfulness. If you cannot differentiate these two, then you're still stuck in the cycle of your own thoughts. And while you're stuck there, that means you're stuck in the cycle of birth and rebirth. So, therefore, When it comes to the teachings of the Buddha, when we develop the mind with the mindfulness, with concentration, or with the effort, all this for the purpose to get out of this cycle of birth and rebirth, to get out from this for the purpose of the cessation of dukkha. For the cessation of dukkha, not just for happiness, so that you go back, you want to become a better person. Yes, you become a better person, not that you won't become a better person. You become a better person. You become more happier, even you do vipassana also. But that is not the end, this is not the goal. Finally, the goal is to cut off our desire, cut off our craving, eradicate our craving, realization of Nibbana. Those, although there are different wordings, they all mean the same thing. So this practice here, you got to be clear about your purpose here. You practice here, you're clear about your purpose. Now, when you are clear of your purpose, then only the yogi will strive. If you're not clear with your purpose, if you don't know what is going on, retreat retreat if you jip chut, after you come in, you go out, you still mong cha cha. Then next retreat you come in, you think you get enlightened. Still mong cha cha. Then if you don't understand, the next retreat you come in, and the next retreat, and the future retreat you come in, you'll still be the same old thing all over again. So, retreat in, retreat out, retreat in, jip chut. Bante, bo progress, Bante, what practice ka anekuwa, jijab niya, Bante. You cry to me, what for? I can't do anything for you. So if you come in with the wrong idea, you come in just for the sake of happiness here and now, then you won't strive. You won't put in the effort. Because if you attach to the worldly kind of mindfulness, then when the pain comes in, when you're thinking a lot, and sleepiness a lot, Bante, betahan ya, Bante, goodbye. Pack your bags and then you want to go back. Why? Cannot finish the retreat. Then the next retreat come in, the same attitude we go inside there. The next retreat come in, the same attitude again and again. Because, first of all, the whole purpose is wrong. You come in here just to enjoy, just to feel good. If the meditation doesn't feel good because there's so much pain, there's so much challenges, so much thinking, or so much all these things, then you don't think, what for? What for? Like an call. What for? Might as well pack your bags and go back. And then next retreat, you come back with the same mind, same attitude. You repeat all over again. Therefore, progress becomes very little. So make sure you come in here, you know what your purpose is. It's not for just being a good person. It will. These are bonuses also when you become a good person. But finally, it's for this eradication of defilements, for the stopping of this cycle of birth and rebirth, for the realization of Nibbana. So if lang echo and nekwan, if we can be able to understand this way, then at least the mind is much more clearer. Okay? Now, mindfulness again. If you develop some degree of mindfulness, if you develop some degree of mindfulness, whether from metta, or from vipassana, or even from everyday life also, the characteristics, they are the same. Same characteristics, that means that if the quality is come in, it's just like, for example, if a fire in a hoi and aircon, the touch the way is hot. No matter how you're going to put it, the characteristic is hot. But if you applied it in different way, then we use the fire for a different purpose. So do the same thing. Mindfulness is like this. The characteristic of the mindfulness, whether it's a worldly mindfulness or whether it's sammasati, if they develop the correct mindfulness, they are all having the same characteristic. If they are having the same characteristics here, that means that as a yogi, you must be able to understand what is this mindfulness. If you cannot understand this mindfulness, many times I met with people, they always strive for the wrong thing. They want concentration, but they want mindfulness. Then they end up with a lot of problem. When you start off with the wrong footing, I've been to Burma. Sometimes at the Ang Mo, and the Ang Mo, he comes to meditate in Panditarama, that time. They want to, of course, you come in for the 2 months retreat, and then you really want to, you really want to practice and you want to do something. So they start off and then they try to concentrate. Then they start off, as I said, in the afternoon like that. They start their walking meditation, lifting. Starting. So when they start off with the walking like that, they don't care about mindfulness. Push up, okay. These yogis, as I said, you give them 1 week, they already burn out, flat, nothing much after 1 week. And they can't meditate, they can't go on anymore. I've seen a number of yogis over the years. This is not the way to practice. You are over trying. When it means you are over trying, you do not know able to differentiate between what is mindfulness and what is concentration, or whether mindfulness and whether it's effort. So here tonight, we need to know exactly how to bring about that mindfulness. Directly, we have to know what is this mindfulness. Now, the Pali word of this mindfulness is sati. If you develop sati correctly, this sati is a wholesome mental state. A wholesome mental state means that it can able to overcome defilements, thinking mind, sleepiness, and so on. Greed, anger. It's only when it's become strong, you see the power of the mindfulness. If in the beginning, the wholesome mental states are you can't see it, you can't notice it. Because, for example, your sleepiness comes in. Tomorrow, let's say you try. Your sleepiness comes in. You try to note it. Sleepy. Who do you think will win? Exactly, sleepiness. Why? Because the mindfulness is not strong enough. But there are some yogis here already finished just a 2-week retreat. That means the mindfulness is still quite continuous. Then that time as he eat tomorrow, the sleepiness comes in. They take note on the sleepiness. They see the characteristic of the sleepiness as they are. The sleepiness goes away, disappear. How come it can able to disappear? Because the strength of the mindfulness is continuous. And it can be done. I've seen so many yogis who can able to do it. They can just pay attention to it. The anger disappear. The greed disappear. The thoughts, the thinking, the restlessness, the doubt, everything disappear. At least for a moment, for a period of time. Doesn't mean disappear forever. Disappear for a moment. Then later part, it will just come back again. So here, you can able to overcome the mindfulness. Therefore, overcome the defilements of the mind. Therefore, this mindfulness is a wholesome mental factor. So, this one we keep aside. We're going to talk about that more towards the coming days. Then the second thing, when you come to meditation retreat, especially the Vipassana retreat, you got to learn to self-check whether you are mindful or not mindful. I cannot be there, the teachers cannot be there sitting next to you all the time. You got to check for yourself whether you are mindful or not mindful. Now, in order for a rule of the thumb to know whether you are mindful or not mindful, is this second characteristic of mindfulness. It's called the present state of mind, present moment. All right? The present moment. But the present moment here of mindfulness is a very limited type of present moment. It's not every form of present moment here and now is mindfulness. But it has got a certain quality. So, in our life, let's eliminate first. Tao Chi Hang, if you're sitting down there, you're thinking about your future. Say, what do you think about? Think about me. Haven't started the retreat and start going back, want to think what you want to do already. So let's say you somehow or another the thoughts of the future comes in. Then you take note. If you're in the story inside there, that means you're not mindful already. Okay, you are in the future. Although your mind is creating the whole thing out, then you're not mindful. You're in the future. Okay? So that is not mindfulness. The second one, when you're in a story about the past, okay, you're thinking about your yesterday, day before, even just now, and so on, and you are in the story of the past. If you're in a story and then the story keep going on, then that time also not mindful. Okay, you eliminate these two. Okay. Now, the present moment. In this present moment, not every presentness of the mind are mindful. Okay? Because there are certain present moment, it can come with ignorance. And ignorance, or moha, this one, very difficult for us to see. Very difficult for us to even to feel it. Because it's just like oxygen, You ask you, where is it? It's there lah. Can you feel it? As long as you're alive. Yeah? But the thing is that this moha, this delusion, it just cover up sometimes with our presentness. And we thought that we are mindful. But actually it's not. So how is it like, for example? Say, for example, everyday life, when you're out there. You brush teeth, you take shower, you makan, you eat, you walk here and there, from places to places. Your mind is not running everywhere. But you think you're mindful? You think you're mindful? Mindful lah? You doubt, If you doubt, then cha mellow. You got to be sure. So when you're at home, not meditating, do everything lah. You turn on the TV lah, you take shower, you wash your hand and everything lah. Are you mindful? Are you alert? Are you aware? You aware, but are you really aware? No, you're just going on again and again. Here, is exactly delusion stays with you like that. But you think that everything okay ma, bosu ma, no problem huh? Life just kept carry on. This is exactly the function of delusion. It covers up the truth, just to keep you happy wherever you are. You feel good. This is the function of delusion. All right, the function of delusion. So although you are in the present, but you are not mindful. Okay, you are in the present, but you are not mindful. Now, mindfulness comes in. You are in the present, but this present, you are more alert, clear than the earlier one that I've said. You are alert, you are clear about that presentness while you are here. So, in other words, when we are here, you want to have mindfulness, and you want to have clear mindfulness during this time. Therefore, you have to exert a bit of effort in everything that you do. That means you have to exert some degree of awareness in everything that you do. For example, if you want to wash your hands, then you must be fully alert to know that you are washing your hands. You feel the coldness. You feel the warmness. You feel that the tap is, you slowly turning on the tap. You feel the water. If you do it in this way, then this is what we call mindfulness coming in. All right? If you're in a dining hall, if you're in a bojana sala, then you want to makan slowly, pamanjia. But pamanjia, if your mind is running here and there, but inside there, nothing. So what is important here is that you go slower than before, and your mind is aware of what you are doing. You are you want to scoop the rice. You're taking the scoop of rice, you keep your eyes down, not looking here and there. You keep your eyes down, you bite, you slowly bring the spoon into your, you feel everything. Then after that, while you are biting, then you notice the biting. And then you put your hands down, then you taste it, you bite, then you're chewing. You feel it hard, soft, warm, cold. You learn to swallow it after that. And you feel until the sensation disappears. Then after that, the next scoop, you take it, you bring it in, and you chew, bites there. You don't worry about what your neighbors are doing. What is beside you is doing. What is important is that you pay attention to what you are doing clearly. If you are not clear, then it will be like outside. Just check, you see a difference here right now. You understand what I mean right now? Okay? So that means you got to make an effort to pay attention to your things that you are doing. So you have to learn to discover. You want to open the door, you want to close the door, you want to be on the bed. Everything you learn to put the mind there as much as you can. In between, there will be a lot of breaks, there will be a lot of gaps. The Becky here, you forget. The Becky car sometimes it gets too long. And when it gets too long is where all your thinking and all kinds of it will start coming in. So in order for it to too long, you got to shorten the gap a little bit. So you got to make effort. Becky remember je, ko jai make effort. Becky ko jai remember, make effort. Again and again, and you got to repeat it again and again and again throughout the day in, day out, until you finish the retreat. Then only with that, the mindfulness can be continuous. If you sometimes the teachers will say, continuous mindfulness. And there, right here is about putting the effort again and again. Forget, come back again. Forget, come back again. And try to, when you come back, try to sustain with it. Try to prolong as best as you can. Every single thing, every small little thing that you do, you brush your teeth, you comb your hair, you want to wash everything, you try to do it as best as you can. Then with that, if you can able to do that, then you see your sitting meditation and other things becomes much more clearer than before. If you don't do that, if you don't put the mind there, if you go just slow, but the mind is always elsewhere, the teachers cannot know what you are doing. Look at China. So it's all about you to self-check yourself. So you have to check yourself, see what is happening in your daily activities, opening door, closed door, eating, in the toilet, urinating, defecating, drinking, anything. You pay attention to as best as you can. Therefore, when it comes into reporting, you tell me some of the things that you have done. If you have do it, good. Perhaps I have some tips. I have some ways to improve it even more better. Or if I find it that if it goes way out, then at least I can help you to guide you back into the right path. But if you don't try, if you don't do, then how am I going to help you? Even the Buddha also cannot help you if you don't try. So you try first. You make trial and error here and there. You find it tough. You find it. Then you come and tell me. You come and tell me when it comes to the interview time. So you try. So you try to be in present moment. So even in the worldly life also, sometimes also we have mindfulness also. Especially when we have to do something more, we need some degree more alertness there. The Buddha used the simile, of the man that carries a full bowl of oil to the brim. While he's carrying it, the full bowl, he must not spill the bowl, but he must pass through a group of pass through a lady, a beautiful lady. He's dancing and singing, and all the people are cheering and clapping, and you have to walk through that. And if the Buddha says is that if that man were to spill a drop of the bowl, then there's another bigger man with a big knife and it's going to chop on the neck. So the man has to be, the man with the holding the bowl has to be very slowly, mindfully tread. You cannot be looking here, cannot be looking there. Very alert into the present because you don't want to die. So to the same type of mindfulness, we have to have that type. Very alert, continuous, and later part it becomes penetrative. It becomes penetrative. So right now is that you learn to stay present. In a one-phase walking meditation, there's some degree of mindfulness come in. As long as you begin to right step, left step. But this mindfulness is not so continuous, it's not so strong. And if you see that from your own walking meditation, during the first phase, there's a lot of thinking coming in. Only after that, when you shift over to the third phase, when the mind is clear, you find that the thinking is less. Because this time, the mindfulness is stronger. So, nevertheless, we need to slowly build that up. We need to build that up slow from the mindfulness, slowly. Go for one phase first until you feel okay. You do the second phase, you do the third phase. You cannot handle the third phase, go back to the second phase or go back to the first phase. Then after that, restart all over again until the time is up. So you try, if after a few days, try for let's say 20 to 30 minutes, especially on the third phase. If you don't try the third phase, the mindfulness will not be so continuous. But if you do too much, then the body becomes very tense. Then if you do just one phase, then it will not be progress. Your body will not be tense, relaxed, very nice, very song, but nothing much in the practice. So you must strike a balance. So over the course of this meditation, as you come into the interview, then we'll slowly guide you through. We'll slowly guide you through into this meditation. So you need to be very alert. You need to be very alert so that the mind is in the present. When the mind is in the present, it becomes clear. Next one. Next one is actually just now I already mentioned. Although presentness is one thing, the next one is actually heightened alertness, which is actually what I meant as alert, clear, and so on. So the presentness and the alertness has to come together. Two characteristics actually, not just one, because the presentness is one characteristic. Highly alert is another characteristic. So these two has to come together. But sometimes it's difficult to separate them out as we meditate. So it doesn't matter. What mattered is that as long as you're alert, as you're this one, then well and good. So it's highly alert is the next characteristic. Then the text also mentioned, the next characteristic is called, the Pali word is apilana. Directly literal translation means non-floating. Non-floating. Float hamia. Next time you can read. The commentary put it in this way that the characteristic of a mindfulness is non-floating. If you read, what is non-floating connected to mindfulness? Floating hami. Because there's a direct translation. Here, non-floating means non-superficial. Floating here means like you're floating on top of the water. We need to sink it down. And we need to bring the mind into the deeper depth level. So here, the mindfulness here is not on the superficial level. Just now when I said that if you're just being aware like what you are doing at home and things like that, all those things are a bit more superficial. These are not mindfulness. Mindfulness is non-superficial. That means it's alert, it's clear. Now sometimes when we are doing a sitting meditation, you can see these two characteristics quite clearly sometimes. This one, Sometimes you sit down there, in the beginning part, rising, falling, thoughts but after suddenly after about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, suddenly the whole mind becomes alert. When the whole mind becomes alert, then you find that the rising and falling, it appears differently already. Much more alert than before, much more clearer than before. Then this time, because there is a contrast of before and after, then you see what is superficial and what is non-superficial. This is what it means over here. Then next time, when you do your sitting meditation, song, very nice, pleasant, happy or not happy. If you meditate like this, you go back very nice, very song, very pleasant, no pain. Pain? What pain? What suffering? No suffering, very nice. That means when you come into a meditation, you just sit there, feel good, in breath, out breath, rising, falling, song, and Jackie, take an apple, like that. Then you go back. Happy or not? Happy. Song or not? Song. Want to come back or not? Yes, definitely want to come back. Why? Because it feels so good. All these things is called superficial. But the delusion will keep you there. You feel that you are good. You feel that you are progressing because outside there you don't have all the calmness. While you come in here, all the calmness is there. Very pleasant and very nice. So if you do it this way again and again, then for the next 20, 30 years of meditation, you're not going to go anywhere. Song niya la. This is, what I'm talking over here, it's not talking out of theory. This is out of experience from some yogis that I've met before. In the past, there are yogis, and they every time go into a retreat, very nice, very 20 years, very peaceful, very nice, very pleasant. Then only they realize that they are supposed to pay attention to the pain. They are supposed to pay attention to the changes of the characteristic of rising, falling, of the sitting, touching, the tension, the mind, the thoughts, everything. They have to pay attention, not just inside there, nothing. So if you practice this way in your past, then actually you are not doing any much of vipassana. If you practice in the past, doesn't matter. You leave those things aside for now. In the vipassana, you need to be alert, clear. And yet the clearness that when it comes, while you're able to notice what is going on, but the mind in the background is quite calm because it does not distracted into other things like thoughts, like hearing of things. You can able to stay focused on the things that is what's happening right in front of you. Yeah? So, until then, when you apply the non-superficiality, then only the mindfulness comes in. When the mindfulness comes in, then other concentration and so on, they will start coming in also. So don't worry about concentration. When you start this meditation, don't worry about concentration. The concentration by default, the right concentration by default, it will come together with the mindfulness. So if you develop the mindfulness, the concentration will come together with it. But if you're going more further into the development, at that time, we need to differentiate between mindfulness and the concentration. We need to learn the characteristic of both also. But in the meantime, if you're starting meditation, you don't worry. You just be aware, be alert, be a clear alert of what is going on in the present moment. Can follow right now? Can do or not right now? Okay. Now, mindfulness. Mindfulness also has a characteristic of non-judging. You don't judge. Especially when you are alert and clear. Especially when it comes into the continuous mindfulness. Might judge. What I mean by judging here? Now the judging here is sometimes to do with a lot of our mental commentary. Sometimes, for example, how you judge. Let's say the pain. You sit down there, then the pain gets stronger and stronger. Yes, your job is supposed to pay attention, see how the pain changes and what is going on. Right? And if you do it in this way, then it's correct. The way of vipassana, you pay attention. You don't judge it. But the problem is, for us, most of us, is that we want to judge. We want to judge the pain. We have our own opinion, our own theory, our own rationality, our own scientific knowledge, our own medical knowledge. Now, for example, if the pain maybe maybe the cushion not enough, And this is what we call judgment. Maybe everything, everything except you want to pay attention to the pain. You want to just escape into your thoughts, into your thinking, except paying attention to what is happening right in front of you. You'll be judging about whether the bone structure is okay, whether you are sitting in the right cushion, whether this pain will give rise to some problem in the future or not. Maybe you're going to make me cannot walk and all that. And then all kinds of worry, skeptical doubt, nonsense, everything comes in. And and these things is so easy, and very easy for your mind to start thinking about it. For example, if you start rising and falling, suddenly the rising and falling goes sideways, Hey, nobody breathes sideways one. How could a rising falling go sideways one? That means if it goes sideways and then this body is something wrong. Cannot. Must make it to come straight forward, backward, forward, sui, sun, sun, very nice, very gentle. If you do like that, you are judging. When you are judging, the mindfulness gone. You want things to appear to what you want. Lukaki sukaya. It's not what the object is showing to you. Yeah? You see what I mean here? Although it's a small thing, if you don't change your attitude of noting, you'll be repeating the same thing again and again and again and again. If you don't realize this part here, you just keep on repeating on here. Because everything you'll be judged by what is your own standard. Your own standard is the rising, falling must appear in this way. In other way, it is not right. Even it's a bit tense, a bit tight, this is not right. Rising, falling cannot be like that one. How could it be like that? If you judge here, then therefore, you bring in your own craving into it. When the craving is into it, you like this way, you don't like that way. Then, for example, the walking also the same thing. Sometimes you do the one-face walking. Right step, left step, right step, left step. And then you find that the body... You find that the one leg is heavier than the left. How come the right leg today is heavier than the left? It cannot. Then you stop for a while. What do? You shake the leg for a while. You shake. Be hose, The leg must be together, must be xiang. How cannot be one leg heavier and one leg this way? How could it be? Something wrong with my leg. Something maybe my osteoporosis, maybe my past injury start coming back all over again. This is what we call judgment. You judge it, you put your opinion, you put your rationality, you put your whatever nonsense into it, and therefore you want the things to behave what you want. If you do it this way, then sorry, your mindfulness will not come in. You will repeat the same mistake again and again until somebody point it out to you. So therefore, you pay attention, see what is happening. If tomorrow you start doing a walking, you're walking a bit more heavier, take it also. Don't judge it, but take it a bit heavier. But don't let it become too much, Sometimes you sit down there already, start shaking the whole body. Walking non-judgment. Not too much already. Then again, here you must know where is the limit. You must also know where's the limit. Sometimes what I mean the limit here is that it's within the range. Sometimes if you're rising and falling, if you're sitting down, your rising and falling goes a bit haywire, a little bit, that one is perfectly alright. But if your body starts to move together, if you swing left, swing right, swing front, swing back, swing rolls, I've seen people rolling, on a that one is too much already. You got to make a decision to stop it already. This is too much because this is not only just involve non-judgment, but other defilements has already start coming in already, and you don't realize it. Sometimes you just mask it with non-judgment. That is not the way. So, non-judgment in a certain limit, that when you pay attention, when you walk, you don't go into somebody else's lane, then perfectly all right. Whatever happens to the leg, heavy a bit, soft a bit, hard a bit, warm a bit, cold a bit, whatever is going on, that is perfectly all right. If you do the sitting meditation, if you don't shake the body, if the body is not moving, the body is still, but the rising and falling is going randomly, the sensation is going randomly, running here and there, whatever is going on, that time you don't judge. That time your job is just to pay attention as it is. Okay? Pay attention to it as they really are. Because if you just let it loose, if you don't control it, then other bad habits will start coming in. Desire especially will start coming in. It comes in and it takes over the mindfulness. But because it is pleasant, it is nice, the more you shake, the more song it becomes, then you will not stop. So you got to be careful. The desire is a lot of times behind it, not mindfulness anymore. So this one is non-judgment. On the opposite of it is called the acceptance. The acceptance of things. Now, they are all theory. When we are talking about it, when we are teaching here, we use different words. We have to use different words because sometimes some yogis, you can able to understand that particular word better. Some yogis understand another word better. But they all, in a sense of practice, they are more or less they look the same. So acceptance here means that, again here means you don't judge. You learn to accept it. Because at times, in the development of the practice, when you are beginning practice, and towards when you are progressing into the practice, sometimes the experience not the same, like not just this like this rise and fall and rise and fall and rise and fall. There's much more variations than that. Unlimited variations of this rising and falling. We thought that our rising and falling is just up and down, is it? But when your mindfulness, sharpness of your mind, penetration of your mind comes in, sometimes you can hear the yogis, every time they come in is a very different experience of rising and falling. Different experience of sitting and touching. Different experience of the pain. Although they can see the pain, but they can see the pain changing this way, that way, another way. Sometimes, even they sit down, the moment they start sitting down, it's all about arising and passing away. It's not just rise and fall and rise and fall. It's about changing in a very fast manner. In the sense of like every second, the rising and the movements already change. You can't even remember what is happening before that. You can't even recall what is happening before that, but objects keep on changing and changing and changing and changing and changing. Moment after moment after moment after moment. And it can be done. There are some yogis who practice long enough, they can see all these type of things happening within this mind and body. It's already all here. The reason that we cannot see those things happening in this mind and body is because of our delusion. We can't see those things yet. It's already happening. So, the more that you pay attention to those things, you begin to able to accept that this impermanence, this changing of things so fast, you got to learn to just stay with it and just pay attention to it. Don't go and catch out it. Don't go and disturb it. Don't go and judge it. Don't go and comment about it. Just pay attention onto it. The acceptance part sometimes, again, on our defilements, hindrances. On our hindrances. Sometimes yogis tend to become very difficult to accept, especially on the defilements. For example, they sit down. They sit down, rising, falling, very nice. After one sitting, two sitting, very clear sitting, very nice. They feel good, they feel triumph, they feel nice. But the third sitting comes in now, but they so sleepy. How come? How come the sleepiness all come in? I cannot I can't think why happened the sleepiness suddenly come in like that. I thought I was going on a good run, Then here is, you see, the anger starts coming in, the dislike starts coming in. Why the defilements start coming in? I meditate. How come suddenly all the thinking starts coming in? I meditate. How come all those memory I've never thought of it in my everyday life and suddenly all starts flowing in like a river during meditation? How come? So all these things, you must learn to accept them as they are. When you will see that how, when it comes into your defilements, in your hindrances, sometimes it's very difficult to accept. How come I got no anger in everyday life? Suddenly I see another yogi, I'm getting so good. That one we'll talk about that also. So right now what I want you all to do is this. Make sure that you're able to accept it. You're able to see things as they are. Hardness, if it's the rising, falling is hard, you learn to accept it as it is. If it's the pain is getting stronger and stronger, learn to see it as it is. Don't judge it, just pay attention until you cannot really take it. Then, whatever that's going on, sometimes there will be a bit noises here, they're a bit noisy, especially when you go to a dining hall. You eat halfway, the auntie kind of, you got to learn to bear up a bit. I try to keep them quiet, but not easy, After you scold them too much, then my food on my table is getting less and less. Then I realize something wrong already. Po song here. So you got to learn to bear up. Especially in the dining hall, there's a lot of, especially like Sundays. Saturday, Sunday, there's a lot of people coming in. So they come in, sometimes there are a bit noises here and there. So you just bear up. All right. Then what else? Now mindfulness also, to understand this mindfulness also, in the beginning part now, you don't see this characteristic of mindfulness so well. But for those experienced yogi, if you have done a number of retreats, then you can see that the mindfulness has a degree of what you call flexibility. A flexibility of a mind. Very pliant, very adaptable. What it means is this. In the beginning part of the retreat, rising, falling, rising, falling, rising, falling. Then the itchiness come in. Ayo, beta hanyo. We cannot pay attention to it. Why? Because maybe a bit painful, maybe a bit itchy, or maybe a bit tense there. So the mindfulness was in the rising, falling, but was not on the itchiness. Then if the itchiness disappeared, you come back to a rising and falling. Song. Rising, falling, rising, falling. Here, in the beginning part, you may face this type of problem. For example, or another one is the pain. Other pain or other unpleasant sensation that you may encounter. The neutral sensation like rising and falling, easy for you to pay attention. Okay, you can able to notice that. But when it comes to a more unpleasant one, the mind doesn't want to shift there. In other words, it's not flexible. In other words, it's not pliable yet. But for an experienced yogi, it's a different thing. They note the rising and falling, they note the changes in the rising and falling, whatever is happening in the rising and falling. But then after that, the pain, the itchiness becomes stronger. As the itchiness becomes stronger, they just let go of the rising and falling. They pay attention to the itchiness, and at the same time, they can see the changes in the itchiness. The itchiness getting more, getting less, they getting this way, that way, getting multiple prick, one prick, two prick here. And then he can note the whatever is going on, then the itchiness slowly dissipates. He comes back to the rising and falling. He can able to note seeing the changes. After that, another pain comes in. He notes the pain. He watch the pain coming in. After that, there's a sound that comes in. He just pay attention to the sound, and then after that, he comes back to the pain again. After that, with the pain, then another tension starts building up. Another somewhere else, and the mind goes there, and he got to see the changes of what is ever is going on there. So what I'm saying here is that the mind, whichever object that it comes in, he can able to take one object after another object, after another object, after another object, after another object, after another object. Flexibility. The mind is pliant, is flexible. So when it is flexible, then the continuity of the mindfulness becomes much more better. Because whichever object comes in during this time, the mind can just hop onto it, mindfulness continue. Another object comes in, it hops onto it, it continue. If your mind is not flexible, that means when you hop to another unpleasant object, for example, at this time, then the whole mindfulness stops. Then you start judging again. Ayo, cannot lah, too painful lah, and all that. Then after that, the pain disappears, then you go back to rising. Then. You see what I mean here? Non-flexibility. So this quality is only, you will see this quality when you are more continuous into the meditation, more deeper aspect into the meditation, and you can find that during this time, the continuity of the mindfulness is getting longer and longer, better and better. During this time, the thinking becomes less, objects becomes, the clarity of the objects becomes more. Even any objects that comes in, you're quite capable to take it up. All this because of mindfulness. There are many other things we can talk about mindfulness. But last but not least, to speak about the next thing is what we call the prominency of an object. Prominency of an object here is also signify the cause for mindfulness to arise. To which object that you should choose, then only the mindfulness arise. Here it means the prominency of an object. Now the prominency of an object here means that if an object that you pay attention to, let's say rising falling bo clear. If rising falling is not clear, when the bo clear, look at it, rising and falling. You just keep on following the rising and falling. After what happened, do you think to the mind? Go mindfulness go. Then what happened? You get sleepy, you get nothing much. Because the object is not prominent anymore, it's not clear anymore. When an object is not clear, then mindfulness doesn't come in. This is the quality, this is the cause for mindfulness to arise. Prominency of an object. So therefore, you need a clear object in order to help you for the mindfulness to arise. If you take all these objects, little, tiny, then your mind will get a lot of problem. Mindfulness will not come in. What will come in is all the tension will come in. So, Take, for example, the sitting and the walking. Walking objects are very clear objects. You do the walking meditation because in the beginning of a retreat, mindfulness, nothing much yet. So nothing much yet, you need to something to hold you back. Something for the mind to hold you back. Therefore, the strategy here is to develop on the walking meditation. So just now this morning I said, this afternoon I said, don't worry too much about your sitting meditation. Because why? Because for a lot of the beginner yogis, the mindfulness is not strong yet. It's not so clear yet. You need something concrete. You need something that you can able to feel. Then only the mindfulness comes in. Therefore, you do your walking meditation, you do it properly. You do the daily activities, you do it properly. Within 2 or 3 days, 3 or 4 days, you see that the continuity of the mindfulness starts coming in. If you don't do that, you find that it will take you a long period of time before everything comes in clearly. When I say things come in more clearly, what I'm saying is that your sleepiness will get less. Thinking will start to get less. Other thing, your mind becomes more clearer. Your object of your meditation becomes more clearer. That time, not only just this comes in, but your confidence of your meditation will start flowing in also. Because you can see some degree of progress. So that's why, if you start off with the wrong footing in this retreat, if you think that the sitting is more important than the walking, then you will end up with not much of a mindfulness. So you start off with the walking first, start off with all these things, you'll see a lot of things will be very helpful to you. Because they are prominent objects. They are clear objects. So, while we are sitting or while we are walking, say for example while you are walking, you walk right step, left step, right step, left step. Then suddenly if you feel that there's certain tension develops in the hand, then instead of going to straighten up your arms and all that thing, leave it there first. Leave it there. Stop for a while, your walking meditation. Pay attention to the tension. Pulling, tension. Because why? Because the tension is more prominent than you're walking right now. Okay? Because the tension is more clearer than you're walking right now. So you shift your attention to the tension and you pay attention to how the tension is developing. So too just now, as I said, during the walking also, when the thoughts coming in, especially the long type of thoughts, all this type of thinking, if they are prominent, because they are clear to you, so this time you stop the walking for a while, shift the attention to the thinking, don't go into the story, just note thinking, planning. Then if you note it in this way, then you are taking up the right object, the prominent objects. And if you take up the prominent object, mindfulness will start trickling in. So too in the sitting meditation also the same thing. Sometimes there are yogis, not sometimes, many times actually, especially from Penang one. Many yogis from Penang over the years. You know what happened? What is this? They can know what one object only, rising and falling. Cannot. Sitting, touching, hearing, So they do not know how to take up other objects other than rising and falling. This is going to have a big problem to all of you if you just take up the rising and falling. Because you know that for sure, after you've been through a number of retreats, rising, falling, always there, meh? Always there. Not always there, isn't it? So that's why exactly because it's not always there, you must learn to take up other objects. And you must be master of other objects also. If you don't learn up about your sitting and touching, you take that sitting and touching, you must be passing through, tan bus, waiting there. How come rising, falling not here yet? You take a rising and falling. You take a sitting and touching, sitting, touching, sitting, touching. How come rising, falling ko bolai ko? If with that attitude, then you're not going to progress much. Because if the rising and falling is not going to come back, then what are you going to do? So, another type of this yogi also, if you do not understand the prominency of an object, then when they pay attention to the rising and falling, if, let's say they have the rising and falling very clear. So, yes, if it's clear, you follow it. Well and good. But, bo clear July, not so clear, become very tiny, little, or you still want to, you take a microscope, you want to go and look through it. With that, now you're going to end up with a lot of problem. Sometimes, the rising and falling is not there, then they suck in the air somehow, and then they want to push out the rising and falling in order for you to see the rising and falling. If you do like that, you're going to end up with a lot of problem. That is not the way. Yeah. If the rising and falling is not there anymore, if bo liao, go to another object. Learn up the sitting and touching. Learn to feel your palms touching here. Touching, and feel it, whether it's warm or not, whether it's cold or not. Learn to feel about the buttock there. You sit there, learn touching, sitting. Feel the tension, feel this one, because those things are somewhat more prominent than your rising and falling. Sometimes the yogis will come. One day I tried sitting and touching also nothing. I tried that, nothing, this nothing. That means there's not nothing. Either you are sleepy already. Sleepiness is at the behind it already. Then anything that you pay attention, of course there's nothing. But your mind is still clear. If you don't change the attitude, if you think that just rising and falling alone will get you into enlightenment, then you are very wrong. Because in reality, those things doesn't stay forever. So you must be. That's why in the earlier part, as I said, you must learn to master your walking meditation. Your first phase, your second phase, your third phase. You must learn to try it again and again. Make mistakes is okay. We will help you to undo the whole thing. But if you don't make mistake, if you don't try, then it's going to be very hard for you to do in the future. So do the walking properly. You do the sitting properly. If you do the sitting, you follow the instruction. If the rising and falling not clear, move to another object. If the rising and falling is clearer than that object, then you move back to the rising and falling. And then if the sensation of the pain is more clearer, then move to the sensation. Don't just stuck there in the rising and falling and you want that rising and falling to be there. Well, because a lot of times, they use this rising and falling as an escape from the pain. Why? The pain be tahan. You can't take the pain. It's too painful. Then try to pay attention to the rising and falling. So in order don't feel the pain. Because if you don't pay attention to the pain, the pain doesn't feel so strong. So mentally, behind it, the mind just want to escape from what is going on. So you got to be careful. You pay attention to what is prominent to you. So if during in the makan time, if you are eating time, if those sensation of the eating is clear to you, then you pay attention to it's clear. Sometimes when you eat, then suddenly there's something on the feet. If on the feet is there, bring the attention down and pay attention to it for a while. Then come up again, biting, chewing, and so on. So if you feel the sensation of the movement of the hand while you're washing the plates or washing, then you learn to feel it. And you don't worry about the people beside you. You learn to feel, you learn to touch. All these things, as you become to be more familiar with it, then you repeat this again and again. So the technique is not about here for you to tia song. Here is about tomorrow You got to, afterwards, you got to do it, repeat it again and again and again and again until you're so familiar with it. Once you're familiar with it, you see that the mindfulness starts coming in much more better. So this is on the mindfulness. We have spoke about presentness, wholesome state of mind. We spoke about the mind is highly alert. The mind is highly alert, non-judgmental, acceptance, non-superficial, and many other things more that we can talk about it. But over the time, over the next coming days, we'll slowly begin to fit in the talks, that fit in all those things to make things much more clearer for you, so that you can able to do the meditation better. All right, so we'll stop here for tonight.